as a business leader, I should get excited if we get better at investment research, if we get better at things like running meetings, so we get better ideas out of everybody. These are all process goals. They're mastery oriented. It doesn't matter the outcome. I just want the organization to get better at what we do for from a process perspective. So that's super important. Now, once you have that and you have the goals and the measurable goals in particular, you know that there is a risk in a high performing organization that you tip into what the research in psychology will call goal induced blindness. And that's
Mm,
why a lot of the research articles make reference to Everest because, Matt, if you want to summit Everest, you have a 4% chance of dying in the process. Now, let's just get our heads around like 4%. Like, why would you want to climb Everest? At the end of one of my chapters, I go, if you take one piece of advice from this entire book, if you ever feel like climbing Everest, don't. And what's interesting is I was on a podcast recently with a pro climber who had climbed Everest. So you can imagine we had an interesting discussion.
I'm
But
sure.
as a thought experiment for you and for our audience today, as we talk through what goal induced blindness means, let me ask you a question. Suppose I give you a jar of 100 gummies and four of them are poisoned. They're going to kill you. What would it take for me to convince you to eat one of those gummies? If I say, Matt, I'm going to give you $1 million, or I'm going to give you a TED talk with 10 million views, or whatever, like, ego sort of oriented goal. Would you eat one of the gummies? I
That
want to know
would,
your answer.
yeah, the answer for me would depend on my life stage. So right now I have two young children. So the answer is there's nothing that you could tell me that would convince me to eat one of those gummies because there's a 4% chance that my kids wouldn't have a father. So I wouldn't take that chance.
And I think if I give you material goals like $1 million, or you could even say a TED talk with 10 million views, this is some kind of a material goal as well, although you're
Right.
having an impact on the world with that. No, it's never worth it when you're so obsessed with your measurable goal that you lose sight of non-goal issues in your life. Often it's your relationships with others that suffer. Often it's your health and fitness that suffer. And often it's your sense of ethics. There are plenty of blue chip companies that experience goal induced blindness. If you're on Everest, your goal is the summit, it's highly measurable, highly prestigious. You lose sight of the risks you're taking to your life to get there. And by the way, also, a lot of the deaths on Everest are unpredictable. So it's a real thing, especially in high performing teams, high performing organizations that use goals. And by the way, I'm not complaining about goals. I think measurable goals are highly effective, but it's like strong medicine. They can have undesirable side effects.